We're live whenever you're ready to begin.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon. Thank you folks for being here. My name is Joe Rafferty and I am Senate Chair of the Labor and Housing Committee. We are convening today as we're doing a work session this afternoon, and I just want to go through what the format looks like and just a couple of procedures basically before I introduce the committee. In any case, the format may be new to you. We've been using it for a while, just still working things through, and won't be surprised if we have some electronic glitches along the way, but it has been working. In any case, we're doing our best, to continue and work as we go. But the purpose of today's meeting is to receive information from staff and from others in order for members to consider the legislative proposals before them and to make recommendations or reports to the legislature. In this session, only committee members, the committee analysts, and those specifically invited to attend will be participating in the work session using Zoom. For members of the public wishing to observe this meeting, it's being live streamed on the committee's YouTube channel and will also be recorded for viewing after this meeting is concluded. The YouTube channel will also be recorded for viewing. Just said that after the meeting is concluded, and it's being broadcast for the audio of the meeting on the legislator's website, which is www.legislature.maine.gov. The YouTube live stream is accessible to the public, and as we go through the work session, again, it just gives us a chance to hear from some experts, talk through bills that we've heard from, and it'll give you an opportunity to listen. And if we ask any of you to come in, should we need your expertise, we'll call on you, and there may be a slight transition period as you move through cyberspace. In any case, this afternoon, we're specifically holding work sessions on LD 190, LD 213, LD 305, and LD 397. In our caucus moment, just moments ago, we'll talk about how we'll handle this. But prior to doing so, I'm going to ask that the committee members introduce themselves. My co-chair is Representative Sylvester, and I'll ask him if he would, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm Mike Sylvester, representative from District 39, a part of Portland.
Thank you. Senator Guerin, please.
Good afternoon. I am Senator Stacey Guerin, representing Senate District 10.
Thank you. Senator Mearmont. Not seeing or hearing him. Representative Bradstreet, please.
Good afternoon. I'm Representative Dick Bradstreet. I represent House District 80, and that includes my hometown of Vassalboro, Windsor, Somerville, and part of Augusta.
Thank you. Representative Cuddy.
Hello, my name is Scott Cuddy, and now you can see me as well. I represent House District 98, which is Winterport, Frankfort, Searsport, and Swanville.
Thank you. Representative Drinkwater.
Good afternoon, Representative Drinkwater, District 121.
Thank you. Representative Gear.
Hi, Tracy Gear, representing House District 9, Kennebunkport, and the coastal parts of Biddeford and Kennebunk.
Thank you. Representative Morris.
Good afternoon. I'm Representative Joshua Morris. I represent the towns of Turner, Leeds, and Livermore, House District 75.
Thank you. Representative Pebworth.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Sarah Pepworth. I represent the fine citizens of Blue Hill, Brooksville, Brooklyn, Surrey, Sedgwick, and Castine.
Thank you. Representative Prescott.
I'm Dwayne Prescott, House District 17, Waterboro, and part of Landing.
Thank you. Representative Rader.
Hi, I'm Amy Rader, representative of Maine House District 125, which is a portion of Bangor.
Thank you. And Representative Warren.
Hello, I'm Representative Sophie Warren, and I represent my hometown, specifically Scarborough Coastal District 29.
Thank you very much. And managing our meeting is our very capable clerk, Alyssa Thompson. And pardon me if I kind of rushed through the start of this, but we've been in committee meeting, and I know some of you are probably just joining us, but we actually had been in meeting since about 10. In any case, I started to allude to this, that in our deliberations, we had been talking about the different bills that we're working through this afternoon, and two of them are connected in that they both center about and around some retirement questions. So I'm going to have Representative Gear give a brief summary and potential direction that we'd like to propose. Representative Gear.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yeah, in our discussion, we specifically started to take a look at LD 190 and 397, both of which deal with the retirement benefits for different kinds of state employees. And I think I alluded to this earlier in the hearing this morning. One of the things that I've been experiencing as a new member of the Labor and Housing Committee is that we've gotten so many of the various bills that are looking to address the particular conditions that are facing different groups of state employees based on changes that have been made to the retirement plan to Maine PERS over the years. And I think it's a bit overwhelming, and it's a bit eye-opening in the sense of really learning that there are groups that have had their retirement adversely affected by these changes, and looking to remedy those situations. So the conversation that we had was really about whether there's an opportunity for a more systematic approach to these issues when we look at the different types of employees and retirees that are affected, and then looking at the opportunity to really analyze what is the nature of the impact, and then what is the magnitude of the fix that would be needed to put in place to address them. And so I think for me, I just really am looking for something that would look at all the groups, really just kind of an inventory of here are the different situations that have been caused over the years. So we could really see that laid out in a very organized way and be able to think about policy accordingly.
Thank you. Representative Drinkwater, you have your hand up, and I think I saw Representative Sylvester as well. I'm going to let Representative Sylvester, if he would, go first, please, and followed by Representative Drinkwater.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I think that one of the solutions that we were thinking about to that problem, and I think we've all alluded to it in different ways, I think particularly Representatives Prescott and Drinkwater, is the fact that there are all these groups, and to try to get a sense of who is perhaps more deserving, what are the fiscal analysis for each of them, and so how do you make these sorts of decisions? And so there's a couple of different options that are open to us, but one of them is to send a letter from the committee to ask Ms. Moran and the retirement system to work with Colleen on trying to track changes since the 1996 constitutional change of all the different groups that have been affected by legislative changes in one way or another, and what those costs look like. Many of these have come up, in bills that, I know that Representative Bradstreet, Representative Cuddy, and Representative Morris have seen at least a couple of times. And, I know I've seen 3 or 4 times these same groups bringing the bills to fix particular entities. So what we were going, Representative Drinkwater, you should weigh in, and anyone else, but then I hope to call Ms. Moran up and to ask her about the feasibility of being able to do that, to really be able to look and see this is all the people rather than have them come in one by one. So that was our idea for a fix. It was a committee letter to MEPers. Thank you. And to
Thank you,
table
sir.
some of these bills, sorry, and to table some of these bills until we have that information, if we can get it this session.
Thank you, Representative. And Representative Drinkwater, followed by Representative Bradstreet, please.
You know, I couldn't agree more with my Democratic friends on the other side that what we're seeing fragmented approaches to a larger problem. And, you know, we throw 4 million to that group and 2 million to that group. I agree that we need a holistic approach to say, okay, what are all these groups that want changes, especially in retirement, because that's the topic at hand, and what's the total cost going to be? I don't know how quick they could get back to us with that information. It sounds to me like we need to identify all the groups that want changes and then the price tag. So I concur with my Democratic friends.
Thank you, sir. Representative Bradstreet?
Yes, I think this is a good route to take. As part of that analysis or that history or the narrative, you know, we've heard a couple of times, and for those who are new on the committee, this may not be known to you, but at some point in time in the past, some of the people who are covered under these plans chose to take another benefit that the state offered rather than continue with in the special plan. And I know they figured it's probably like a Hobson's choice. It was not an easy choice to make, but I think what they did, they opted to have the state continue to pay some of their insurance benefits while retired, rather than be in the 1998 special plan. I'm not sure how widespread that is, or if that's just a very few or not. But I think it certainly would lend itself to the conversation we'll have afterwards. Thank you.
Go ahead, Representative Sylvester.
So I just wanted to take this moment to see if we could ask Ms. Moran to come up, but then first to hear from our analyst, Colleen McCarthy-Reed, who has certainly tracked some of these bills at least once through, and maybe more than that, and have a conversation about what the feasibility of doing what we're asking is, and maybe a timeline.
Sure. Thank you, Representative Sylvester. I mean, there certainly are a number of bills that have already been referred to the committee that relate to retirement issues, some of which you've had public hearings on and some of which you have not. And there also are still additional bills expected that have not yet been referred or printed to the committee and referred to the committee. So I think what I was hearing you suggest is maybe some list of all of the proposed legislation that might be considered by the committee this session, but then also separate and apart from that, so you can see what proposals are being made, but separate and apart from that, the development of sort of a historical timeline that goes back and tracks the changes that were made to the retirement system that have triggered some of the bills that have been, presented for your consideration this session. I can certainly do that. And then I think the second piece, which really, I think where the retirement system would have to come in, is helping to calculate what the costs of making those changes or sort of reversing some of those proposals for you. Am I understanding what you're thinking about?
That is exactly correct. And Mr. Chair, I wonder if I could have a quick follow-up with Ms. Moran.
Yes, sir.
Ms. Moran, I'm wondering, Kathy, a lot of these have already had fiscal notes. A lot of the groups that'll end up in the historical timeline, we might not have them this session, but we had them last session or a couple sessions ago. How difficult do you think putting together such a project is? Is it realistic that we could see that this session to make decisions this session, or is this something where we might not see it until next year?
I think I need a point of clarity. Are you talking about primarily the special plan bills, or you're talking about the full scope of bills that you're seeing? So for example, this afternoon, 190 has to do with special plan, 397 has nothing to do with the special plan. This morning you had a couple bills that weren't special plan related. So is your request for information specific to the plans in terms of special plans in those groups, or is it broader than that?
I think it's broader than that, Ms. Moore, because really what we see these groups, you know, whether it's a pocket of state workers here from some legislative change in 2011 or some earlier group that, you know, of corrections officers, we see in both the regular plan and the special plan groups coming to us for fixes. And what we're trying to get a sense of is since 1996, so since the constitutional change, what sort of groups have had changes made to their plans where there was a cutoff, and this group made it on this side and there's a group that's left on the other side, and it may or may not be able to help us in the 130th, but what we want to be able to have for either in this session to make decisions, in the second session to make decisions, or for the folks whoever's sitting in our chairs in the 131st to be able to have a real roadmap to look at, so that when groups come in, you can see it in totality. You can see, you know, it's $100 million and it's, you know, and this group's 4 million and this group is 4,000 and this group is 100 million, right? And so,
Yeah.
so that's sort of what we're looking at.
Yeah, I think it would be challenging to have that information back for you to act on this session. I think it's something that we could work on during the interim. You could I think this letter is a great idea and lay out what it is you're looking for from us. I think it's not limited to the bills that you've seen this session, maybe. I mean, we've seen, I've been doing this long enough. A lot of the bills I see now are just repeats year to year to year, but some of them aren't. Some of them are newer bills that are based on newer circumstances or things kind of catching up where now somebody's actually being impacted in certain ways from prior laws that were made. So I think there's a lot of digging that we'll have to do, a lot of research, a lot of analysis we'll need to do, and then we'll need to engage the actuary to help us in terms of costing out those various bills. So I think it'd be challenging to try to give you that, commit to that information for this session, but I think a good goal would be to do it over the interim and bring information back to you for the second session that would give you that comprehensive look.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah. Thank you very much. I thought I saw a hand go up. No? Okay. Any other discussion? Senator Mearmont.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Based on that, and nobody else asking questions, I'd move to table LD 397 and LD 190, either together or separately as we need to do procedurally.
Thank you. Do I have
I'll second that.
Second? Second by Representative Bradstreet. Any further discussion? So a motion has been made, seconded. Motion was made by Senator Mearmont, seconded by Mr. Bradstreet, Representative Bradstreet, to table both LD 190 and LD 397 to a further day. So we will have a vote, and we're going to be sure that we can physically see you when you do give Alyssa a vote. She'll do the voting by roll. And just to be clear, if you say respond favorably, as in yay or yes, that would mean we are tabling LD 190 and 397 at this time. Alyssa, if you would please call the roll.
Senator Rafferty?
Yes.
Rafferty, yay. Senator Guerin?
Yes.
Guerin, yes. Senator Mearmont?
Yes.
Mearmont, yes. Representative Sylvester?
Yes.
Sylvester, yes. Representative Bradstreet.
Yes.
Bradstreet, yes. Representative Cuddy.
Yes.
Cuddy, yes. Representative Drinkwater.
Yay.
Drinkwater, yay. Representative Gear.
Yes.
Gear, yes. Representative Morris.
Yes.
Morris, yes. Representative Pebworth.
Yes.
Pebworth, yes. Representative Prescott.
Yes.
Prescott, yes. Representative Rader.
Yes.
Rader, yes. And Representative Warren.
Yes.
Warren, yes. So that is unanimously yes to table.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Chair, may I ask a question?
Yes, sir.
Now, we just voted on these two bills on what direction we'd like to take. What about those bills that are going to be forthcoming? Will we have to do the same with them? Go through the process and then vote them to be studied?
Representative Sylvester. Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I think that's one of the reasons we wanted to table this today, is to give everyone a chance to think about what the process should be going forward. I think we definitely have to schedule the hearings and hear the bills that have been presented. And there were a couple of different options we had in terms of thinking about, we could, if we decided to keeping a couple of vehicles open, if we, in case we decide to move something and have agreement on, we want to try to move this one. But I don't think we were able to solve peace in the Middle East during that caucus. So we were hoping to have a little time so both sides could think about it.
Thank you.
I think in essence, we were looking for a little bit of a breathing room there. Any other discussions or questions? All right, so setting those aside, let's take a look at LD 213. And currently LD 213 reads, an act to require coverage for female firefighters facing reproductive system cancer.
Senator Rafferty, would you like me to share the bill analysis and go through it, or how would you like to proceed for the work session on this bill?
That analysis would be very helpful. We appreciate that. Thank you for doing so.
Sure. So I did have a chance to email it out to everybody earlier, but I will share the screen now, and we can pull up LD 213. Hopefully everyone can see this. I'll just, you did have the public hearing on this a few weeks ago, but I think everybody's familiar with what's proposed in LD 213, especially since you talked again. I had another bill this morning related to the rebuttable presumption issue. But LD 213 proposes to add gynecologic cancer to the definition of cancer under the existing provision in the Workers' Compensation Act, for which a firefighter has a rebuttable presumption that a particular form of cancer was contracted as a result of that firefighter's employment. Under current law in the Workers' Compensation Act, there is a rebuttable presumption for firefighters for certain types of cancers that are listed in the Act. That includes kidney cancer, non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, colon cancer, leukemia, brain cancer, bladder cancer, multiple myeloma, prostate cancer, testicular cancer, or breast cancer. The presumption would apply to firefighters who are diagnosed with cancer within 10 years of the firefighter's last active employment as a firefighter, or prior to attaining 70 years of age, whichever occurs first. And as you talked about this morning, the effect of the presumption is that the burden of proof would shift to the employer in any hearing related to their workers' compensation claim to rebut the presumption that the disease is compensable under Title 39A. There are some requirements in the statute for which a firefighter must meet in order to qualify for the presumption. And some of those were talked about at the hearing. They must have been employed as a firefighter for 5 years, have undergone a standard medically acceptable tests for evidence that of the cancer for which the presumption is sought, or evidence of the medical condition which failed to indicate the presence or the condition of the cancer. So that during the time of employment, that needs to have been evidence. And then they also must sign an written affidavit declaring to the best of the firefighter's knowledge and belief that the diagnosed cancer is not something that is prevalent among their relatives, and that the firefighter has no substantial lifetime exposures to certain carcinogens. The bill as drafted would add gynecological cancer to the specific types of cancer for which there's a rebuttable presumption. The bill as it's drafted doesn't specifically define what the term gynecological cancer is. However, the United States Center for Disease Control does describe this gynecological cancer as any cancer that starts in the female reproductive organs, and would include the following types of cancer: cervical cancer, uterine cancer, ovarian cancer, vaginal and vulvar cancer. So if the committee is interested in making more specific, definition of what that is, you could look to that definition, or describe specifically some or one or more of the specific types of cancers that I just mentioned. But as the bill is drafted and as I would read it, the term gynecological cancer would mean those five types of cancer. You did have some testimony from the professional firefighters in Maine that there are approximately 100 female firefighters of the more than 1,000 firefighters in Maine who have the potential to benefit from this presumption if you move forward. There was some testimony in opposition to the bill, raising some concerns about the lack of data and scientific studies demonstrating a higher risk for these types of cancers among female firefighters. And you did have some testimony from a number of folks that came in today and after the hearing, and also was presented as part of testimony referring to particular studies related to increased risks of certain types of cancers for female firefighters. Cervical cancer is one that comes to mind, but there are some of the studies cite to other types of higher risk for other types of cancers as well. You also heard at the public hearing that there has been some development at the federal level. Federal law was enacted in 2018 to require the development of a national firefighter registry to collect and analyze data related to cancer in firefighters. That's going to be a voluntary registry where firefighters who have experienced cancer can provide information to this registry. And one of the factors in developing or requiring the law was designed to help create some statistically reliable data related to female firefighters and also minority firefighters. That registry has not yet begun enrolling participants, but the National Institute for Occupational Safety and Health is in the process of developing that. They have developed a website, so I cited that for you there as well. I did want to point out that there are existing rebuttable presumptions in the statute already that go beyond other types of diseases, as we're talking here specifically about the rebuttable presumption for cancer, but there are two other provisions of statute that I wanted to note for you. Rebuttable presumption for cardiovascular injury or disease and pulmonary disease suffered by firefighters. That was mentioned as part of some of your testimony this morning, and there's also a rebuttable presumption for emergency rescue or public safety workers who contract hepatitis, meningitis, or tuberculosis as a disease arising out of and in the course of employment. And I noted those statutory references for you there. Firefighters are included in the definition of emergency rescue or public safety workers. You did ask for some more information from the Workers' Comp Board to the extent that they might be able to develop that related to existing claims that have been made by female firefighters. We don't yet have any fiscal impact statement from the Office of Fiscal and Program Review. But I would note that under the current statute, and I think you've talked about it earlier, cancer it could be covered under the, or is able to be covered under the Workers' Compensation Board as a workplace injury now. If the employee brings a claim and they can prove, by a preponderance of the evidence that it's arising out of their employment. But what this bill would do is add specifically the reference to gynecological cancer that would give employees making these claims the potential benefit of the rebuttable presumption in the event that there is any, their claim goes to a hearing before the Workers' Compensation Board. And I'll stop there. I'll stop sharing as well. I'm happy to bring it back up for you, but I think it usually works better to stop the sharing so you can have some discussion amongst yourselves in the work session. I'm happy to answer any questions, and I know folks from the Workers' Compensation Board are in your meeting as well, who could answer some of your specific questions as well.
Are there any questions of Ms. Reed specifically? I do see Senator Marmont's hand is up. Thank you, sir. You're muted, I think, sir. Senator, you're muted.
Sorry, I'm going to let Senator Representative Warren go first, if that's okay, Senator.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. I just wanted to bring up a point that I think this may be a moment to do so. And it just has to do with the language and an appreciation that this bill is moving in a really important positive direction towards gender justice for women here in the state of Maine. And so I feel that this is maybe a moment to consider into the future how we could go further to be more inclusive. I think that the language of gynecological is really precise and inclusive in its being so technically precise, but I think that the bill's title using the term women firefighter could be more inclusive in considering of how it's important to remember that trans men and non-binary firefighters here in our state will benefit as well from this urgently needed legislation, and so that there are women like people like I know, Gwen and Katie, hello. You are being actively discriminated against, and this legislation is such an important step forward. And yet that it's important when we're redressing harm, in my perspective, that we recognize that we're tasked with the enormous responsibility to consider all who were not included and to create laws which go as far as we know today to consider all the people in Maine that can be made whole in some way going forward. So I appreciate that the language of this bill is inclusive, and as to my knowledge, please someone correct me if they have a different understanding, that this bill will not be disclusive in that way. But so I don't have any amendments to make, but I just wanted to bring that in to consider those who may have also been facing discrimination here and will be made right in some way, have access to rights that they deserve here. So just thank you very much.
Thank you, Representative Warren. Senator Marmont, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd move ought to pass, please.
Second.
Oh, man.
If Representative Prescott wants to second, I would be happy to cede my second to Representative Prescott.
Yes, please. Thank you very much, man.
I think he would like to do so. So I have a motion by Senator Marmont, seconded by Representative Prescott. And discussion, I have a question from Mr. Drinkwater. Representative Drinkwater, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. You know, this has been a very complex bill before us. I think all of us agree that gynecological should be included in the language. However, they are already covered. There's no discrimination here. Workman's comp covers male, female, binary, whatever you are, if you're a fire person. During our hearings, now this is just more than this one, the question was repeatedly asked, does your department require you to get a cancer screening? Because we heard how important this issue is by the fire people, because apparently it's important. So when asked if the employers require cancer screening, the answer was no. When asked if they personally get a cancer screening every year, the answer was no. So I don't understand if it's so important why they don't get cancer screenings every year, because when you're going to prove that it was created on the job, you should have a history to look at. Hey, last year I got a clean bill of health with cancer screening. I've got it now, and I had to fight XYZ fires, and I think that's where I got it. I think if we pass this bill, we're going to open the door to Pandora's box, as we already are witnessing. Now we're talking about hypertension and post-traumatic stress, and the time to prove your case is going to be lengthy no matter what. You know medical records are going to be involved. You know that workman's comp is going to show a family history of whatever to prove their case. It's going to be a difficult case, no matter if it's presumptive or not presumptive. And lastly, workman's comp costs are going to go up for everybody, as they have to hire more arbitrators and the lawyers. So because of those 4 reasons, and I would like to see gynecological added to it without the presumptive. So that's up, open for discussion. So I throw that up on the table if anybody wants to talk about it. Thank you, sir.
Yes, Representative Sylvester, Representative Warren, and Senator Mearmont, please.
It looked like a couple other hands went up. I'm gonna see if it gets discussed in that and come back.
Representative Warren, please.
Appreciate it. I'm kind of wondering if either Representative Drinkwater or anyone else has a thought about in leaning towards being presumptive, we're maybe helping to ensure certain privacy rights or an overreach of kind of government control in a certain way. I guess just wondering if how people weigh those.
Thank you. Representative Mearmont, I'm sorry, Senator Mearmont, followed by Representative Rader.
There you go. Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just wanted to thank Representative Drinkwater for his attention to gender biased language. You know, that's appreciate that with the firefighters and workers' comp and things like that. He's taken the lead there, and about the gynecological. So I'll defer to Representative Warren on that, where she said that she didn't feel like the bill as it is excludes. I trust that. That's why I moved the motion without an amendment at this point. But for a minute there with Representative Drinkwater, sounded like we were having a discussion about why we should have universal health insurance. So thanks a lot.
Thank you. Representative Rader.
Thank you so much. To the Representative Drinkwater's point, my only concern, or one of my concerns with that, is whether or not the insurance would allow such regular testing. I know my doctor tells me what screening I can and can't have based on my insurance every year, including certain cancer screenings that were recommended yearly and are now pushed out to once every 3 or 5 years. So my concern with adding that layer is that we might be up against insurance companies in terms of the screening being allowed. Thank you.
Thank you. Representative Bradstreet, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yeah, I have a general objection to most rebuttable presumptions. I think it's much of it's contrary to the standards of logic. You cannot prove a negative. It's very difficult to do that. Secondly, I don't think there's a lot of scientific evidence to back up what the bill calls for. And I'd like to point out too that the federal government is attempting right now to accumulate some data which would give us a better perspective on which to make our decisions, I believe. So I will, I understand the situation and how difficult it can be, but I will be voting against the bill. Thank you.
Representative Sylvester.
Well, I guess for me, if the bill already says testicular, and it leaves out gynecological, that to me is an error of history in terms of the firefighting force and who was bringing things forward, and probably even the makeup of the legislature at that time. And so I will be voting for the bill to make it to have parity for all firefighters, regardless of gender. And I guess I was wondering if we might be able to hear the perspective of the sponsor on some of the questions that we've raised today, since she's here in the room.
Thank you, sir.
Particularly the screenings, Representative Drinkwater's question.
Thank you. First, I'll ask Representative Rader had a question, followed by Representative Gear, and then I think we'll give the representative an opportunity to answer some questions as a sponsor. Thank you.
Senator, my hand was in error. I apologize.
Oh, that's okay. Representative Gear.
And I would like to take the opportunity to hear from the sponsor at this point.
All right. So, Representative Millett, good afternoon. Thank you.
Good afternoon.
Thank you. The floor is yours. We appreciate you being here.
My pleasure. I do apologize. I am juggling both your committee and the Education and Cultural Affairs because we are voting on the budget. So I am taking juggling to the nth degree here. I would just concur that for me, that this bill was about equity. When I see in statute that we are providing rebuttable presumption for male reproductive cancer, but not encompassing all firefighters' reproductive cancer, then that doesn't seem fair. All firefighters should be treated equally. So that's why this bill was put forward. And I believe that the president of our professional firefighters is also available if there are more technical questions, and would defer to Mr. Kroos if folks wanted to hear from him.
Thank you. Anyone have any specific questions that you'd like to ask? No. Any additional discussions? Representative Drinkwater.
Thank you, sir. Is it possible to do this in two phases? One, to add gynecological cancer as our first vote, and then secondly, to vote on presumptive.
I believe we have a motion on the floor. Senator Marymount.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I would consider the addition of the word gynecological a friendly amendment if the seconder would.
And so Representative Prescott, where did you go? I've lost you.
Right
People are
here.
moving around.
So you're in favor of Representative Drinkwater's recommendation? Is that what we're doing here?
The question is to you, yes.
Point of
That's
order,
fine.
Mr. Johnson.
Uh,
Mr. Chair.
Let's let a clarification. Representative Sylvester, sir.
I'm sorry to interrupt Representative Prescott, but the bill itself that we are adding language to is a list of things that are rebuttable presumptions. And so there's nothing to include it to if we then vote to not make it a rebuttable presumption. So I'm unclear on the amendment, because by adding the language, we make it rebuttable, because testicular cancer is a rebuttable presumption. It's a list of things that firefight in this particular section for cancers that are rebuttable presumptions. So I'm not sure how we would proceed with that. So that was my point of order.
Thank you, Representative Sylvester. That does clarify for me. Representative Warren.
Yeah, I just wanted to also clarify if that's in this instance too, because it seems like it would be making that whole thing irrelevant. Like there'd be no reason to even have gynecologic at that point, because if the question is to change this bill to make it so that to amend this bill to make it so that there is no rebuttable presumption for firefighters who have contracted any number of these, or I guess both testicular and gynecological. I think I'm trying to understand if this is possible here.
Thank you. So we do have a motion on the floor. It's been seconded. Representative Morris with a question.
Yes, I do have a question. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I do have a question, actually. I'm looking at the bill, looking at the law that we're amending, and it looks like it was only amended about a dozen years or so ago. So not that long ago, back in 2009. So, and I was also looking at some of the testimony from Elizabeth Brogan. So I suppose my question, if Colleen could shed some light on why this wasn't included then, because it does include breast cancer, but it did not seek to include gynecological cancer. And I guess it's just trying to figure out, if you were going to include breast cancer then, why the legislature at that time would not have included this as well. I guess I just would want more clarification on that.
Sure, if I may. Yeah, I did look back at the legislative history. I wasn't involved in the legislature's consideration of this provision when it was put into place, but when it was originally proposed to the Labor Committee, with language that was more general, that would cover sort of all types of cancers more broadly. If there was, if those cancers were linked to, had a causational link to exposure to certain carcinogens, so it was linked to, specific chemicals that might cause cancer generally. And then during the course of the Labor Committee at that time's consideration of the legislation, it was amended to specifically reference particular forms of cancer. And in looking back at the committee's file at that time, there were some references to specific studies that had been done then that linked increased risk of firefighting, firefighting causing increased risk to these certain types of cancers. So this was the reference to all those that are currently listed. The bill was amended to specify the certain types of cancers at that time. It may be that if in looking at the more recent data that was shared with the committee about studies linking firefighting to an increased risk of cervical cancers and the other types of cancers that would be included as proposed in the bill. Those have been the result of some more recent studies. So it may be just there's a lack of recognition in 2009 of an increased risk for these types of cancers in the reproductive system. I wasn't able to discern that from looking at the committee's master file. There wasn't any specific reference or suggestion at that time where it was proposed that this type of cancer was included.
Thank you. Any additional questions? Representative Drinkwater, followed by Representative Pebworth.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Before we take a vote, I'd like to call for a caucus with my fellow Republicans.
That's fine. Would you like to hear Representative Pebworth's question first?
Yes, please.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Representative Drinkwater. My question is to get a little more clarification on the cancer screening, which I understand is part of the presumptive, reputable presumptive process. So if there's somebody who could just clarify that that is in fact a necessary step, that would be helpful.
Yeah, I can just clarify that the statute is 328B, and there's a specific provision in the statute that says, in order to be entitled to the presumption during the time of employment as a firefighter, the firefighter must have undergone a standard medically acceptable test for evidence of the cancer for which the presumption is sought, or evidence of the medical conditions derived from the disease, which the test failed to indicate the presence or condition of cancer. So there is a requirement in the statute that there be a demonstration that the firefighter did undergo a standard medically acceptable test that found there was no evidence of the cancer prior to making the claim or seeking to use the presumption. And I think you had testimony at the public hearing from Mr. Rohde of the Workers' Compensation Board, where he just indicated that the Workers' Compensation Board has adopted a rule that sort of specifies further the types of tests that are acceptable under this provision, and he may be able to provide some more information specifically about how this might apply with if you add these types of cancers to the list. But it might be a situation where the Workers' Compensation Board would take a look at their existing rule and see if there are any changes or amendments that may need to be made in light of adding gynecological cancer to the list of cancers in the current law.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Chair, could we hear from Mr. Rohde?
Oh, yes, I see his name. I see if he, there he is.
Yeah.
Good afternoon, Mr. Rohde. I'm sure you've been listening.
I have been. So Colleen is correct. The presumption for the presumption to apply, the firefighter has to have undergone a standard medical test. When the bill was originally enacted back in roughly 2009, there was some question as to what that would mean. So the board adopted a rule. It's found in Chapter 1, Section 10 of the board's rules. And it's essentially a complete physical with blood work. There has to be a history of, family history of whether the cancer is prevalent or not prevalent. And then there are some specific exams which must be done. Female firefighters, for instance, over the age of 40 or older have to get a mammography, a colonoscopy if they're 50 or older, same for male firefighters 50 and older for the colonoscopy and prostate examination. So it spells out exactly what the firefighter has to do. And the test only has to be done once. It's a standard medically acceptable test. So if a firefighter chooses to do it more frequently, of course they can. But in order for the presumption to apply, it need only be done once after the person has become a firefighter.
Sir, would that screening, so that would be just a screening done for the job to get into the firefighting group, you have to have that physical and pass that physical.
So there was some question about this because some of those physicals occur before you're actually employed as a firefighter. And the statute says the exam must occur when you are employed as a firefighter. So I don't know, there haven't been any cases at the board defining when the exam has to occur. So for instance, if I wanted to become a firefighter, I pass the physical and so forth, and then I'm hired. I think many firefighters are then getting the cancer screening after their actual date of hire to make sure that the presumption will apply, if that makes sense.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Representative Prescott.
Thank you. These entry level, when you first get your job and you take these screenings you're talking about, are they specific to the issues we're talking about for both men and women? Because what I'm kind of hearing is, well, it's a general physical type of thing. But what we're trying to get at is, did they or did they not have cancer in these areas previous to employment?
Right. So whatever exam is done has to be done in accordance with the board's rules. So there are some specific things beyond just the general physical that have to be part of the exam. And the firefighter would have to know what's in the board's rule to make sure that the exam that they undertake is comprehensive enough to cover them in the event they want to try to invoke the presumption later.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Chair?
Yes, sir.
When can we have a discussion about sending a letter to the board? Somebody help me with the procedure here to have them look at their rules and maybe tighten ship a little bit. Hate to throw a wrench into the monkey works.
Let's see if we can come out of caucus with that answer. That may,
All right,
maybe
great.
somebody's aware of right off the bat. Representative Drinkwater.
Thank you, sir. A question for Mr. Rhodey. So what I'm hearing through all this process, and it's been quite a process, quite an education for us people that are new to labor, is that if you really want to nail down the presumption, shouldn't you have a cancer screening every year?
Well, in terms of the presumption, no, you only have to get it once. And once you have that examination after your employment as a firefighter, you will meet that section of the statute. You will have satisfied that obligation and the presumption will apply later on if you're diagnosed with cancer.
And after talking to the general counsel, I came away with with an opinion that it's going to be challenged and it's going to be a fight to prove or disprove that it was caught on the job. So I guess that's more of an opinion than it was a question.
Yeah, I think, what Mr. Hughes has said is each case can be different. So yes, you can have a case where certainly you have the development of the medical evidence and litigation that can take a substantial period of time. That certainly is a possibility.
So if I'm a firefighter and I'm dealing with, like New York City had to deal with after 9/11, I want a cancer screening every year. Shouldn't that be part of the rules in workman's comp?
So I would want to think a little more deeply about this, but if the board passes a rule that's beyond what we're authorized to do by statute, then that rule could be thrown out by the courts. And since the statute says you need a medically acceptable test, if we were to say you need multiple standard medically acceptable tests, my assumption is, without doing any research, is that that rule wouldn't stand.
All right. Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
Representative Sylvester. You're muted, sir.
I would just say before we go to caucus that if my personal thoughts are that Representative Drinkwater, if you wanted to put in such a bill and that, to have employer-sponsored health screenings for cancer every year, that's a bill that I would co-sponsor and help you get through Ledge Council, testify right beside you. And Representative, I believe it was Representative Prescott, if you had some things that you wanted to have, if you wanted to work with Colleen or Steve to come up with a list of things that you thought should be fixed at workers' comp, we'd be happy to give you time on us on the schedule to present those to the committee for us to consider, to sending a letter to them. So those would be my two thoughts about those two questions before we head into caucus.
Thank you.
Hey, at this point, I'd like to go to caucus. I have 2:15. Let's go to, if you can, Alyssa, give us 20 minutes. If we
So
need more, we'll find out then. Thank you.
I never closed the breakout rooms, so you guys should be able to go click the breakout rooms icon on your little bar on the bottom. Otherwise, we'll have to wait a minute for them to close and me to reopen them. But then
The
you guys
bar
can
on-
just leave the rooms whenever you're ready.
Wait a minute. Bar on the bottom.
As in we just hit leave?
Yep, just hit leave meeting on the right-hand corner, that little blue button whenever you're ready. And then we'll all be here.
As long as you don't leave the whole meeting altogether, you want to go to the breakout room specifically.
Yep,
Well, I
hit
don't
blue, not red.
Yeah, mine's red. I don't see any blue.
When you're in the breakout room, in the same exact spot, there'll be a one that says leave breakout room. And I believe it's blue.
You don't see
You
it
can't
yet.
see it right now because you're not in the breakout room.
Yeah, but I'm just seeing my red button. It says leave. It doesn't say enter breakout room.
It
Alyssa's gonna
is
do
the
that.
little grid on the bottom that says breakout rooms. You've got reaction.
Oh, yes, I
Yeah.
see it now. Thank you.
Of course. Do you see it on the bottom of your screen there, Senator Rafferty? You're muted.
Got too many things on my screen, but I'm looking at breakout room.
Yeah, it's 4 little squares, and then you should just be able to click it and click to join.
Well, I'm clicking it and I'm not getting an option to join. I see close all rooms as an option.
You don't want to do that.
I see unassigned. I don't see my name is not even on the list.
I see it on mine, so I'm not sure.
Huh. Well, I don't know. Let me look again.
Let me see if I make you not a co-host, if that changes what it looks like for you. Does it look any different now?
Now I see my name. I'm trying to click on my name and nothing's happening. Let's see. Now I can join.
Perfect.
Alyssa, this is Brooke. I don't know if you're able to add me. I'm not seeing an icon on the bottom menu.
Let me see. Do you see the pop-up?
Yep, there we go. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Representative Bradstreet, are you all back?
Yeah, we are pretty much back. About 30 seconds, I would say.
Yep.
Get your watch out.
He does have that 30-second down. See some empty screens.
What I'm gonna do is get a heavier phone so that at least I can get a workout in.
There you go.
While we're
one with a bigger face. That I can't see it. There you go. That would do it. Maybe a 3-minute glass, 7-hour glass.
I'll show you something funny. I bought this thinking that I could have it behind me, but as you can see, you can't read the digital numbers on the screen. So it is basically useless.
Good thought, though. It's a good thought.
Save your sales slips.
Mm-hmm.
All right, looks like we're good to go. Is everyone back? There's a lot more names on here than I remember, but anyway. Okay, so we have a motion on the floor, was made by Senator Marmont, seconded by Representative Prescott to vote on the bill as written. We're ready to move on the vote. Melissa, in terms of doing so, I just want to clarify a vote of yes will be to move the bill forward as written. Anyone that responds no or nay is in opposition to the bill moving forward. If you would, please call the roll.
Senator Rafferty.
Yes, and please, folks, just a reminder, you do need to be visible when you vote. It can't be just your name.
Rafferty, yes. Senator Guerin.
No.
Guerin, no. Senator Marmont.
Yes.
Marmont, yes. Representative Sylvester.
Yes.
Sylvester, yes. Representative Bradstreet.
No.
Bradstreet, no. Representative Cuddy.
Yes.
Cuddy, yes. Representative Drinkwater.
Nay.
Drinkwater, nay. Representative Gear.
Yes.
Gear, yes. Representative Morris.
No.
Morris, no. Representative Pebworth.
Yes.
Pebworth, yes. Representative Prescott.
Yes.
Prescott, yes. Representative Rader.
Yes.
Rader, yes. Representative Warren.
Yes.
Warren, yes. And just so we're clear, is the minority report ought not to pass?
Correct.
Okay. So that is 4 ought not to pass and 9 ought to pass.
Thank you very much.
Mhm.
And moving forward, now I got lost here. We are. My next bill, I'm trying to get the number. 305. Table, let's see.
I believe it's Senator Searway's bill, LD 305.
305 is right under my nose. Thank you very much, sir. So LD 305 is an act to include the forest rangers and forest fire prevention specialists in the Bureau of Forestry's Forest Protection Unit in the laws concerning cancer suffered by firefighters. Discussion or questions?
Senator Rafferty, I would only just, I'm happy to share the analysis.
Sorry,
but-
thank you.
No.
I'm getting ahead of myself. My apologies. My apologies.
That's okay. I don't need to share the whole analysis for this bill. Really, I'll just, as you mentioned, the bill proposes to add forest rangers and forest fire prevention specialists in the forest protection unit to the definition of firefighters that are eligible for the rebuttable presumption, which we just talked about in the first bill. So I won't go through all of the requirements in the statute. I would just note that there was the current definition of a firefighter is a member of a municipal fire department or volunteer fire association whose duties include the extinguishment of fires, or an investigator or sergeant in the office of the state fire marshal. And the bill, LD 305, would propose to add forest rangers and forest fire prevention specialists in the forest protection unit of the Bureau of Forestry to that definition. There was a question raised at the public hearing about clarifying to ensure that forest ranger pilots who also have served some of these duties are included in the scope of the bill. So, I mean, in light of that concern, I think I might suggest, if the committee is interested in moving forward, you could amend the bill slightly to focus on the duties of the individual rather than naming the specific position within the Bureau of Forestry, which I think was part of the concern, that if you didn't specifically say forest fire helicopter pilot, I think was the issue that was raised at the hearing, that you might be excluding them in some way. And so you could amend the language to include those individuals who are employed in the forest protection unit within the Bureau of Forestry and have firefighting duties as part of their position. That's something the committee is interested in. That was really the only thing I wanted to bring up. I can pull up the existing law, which we just talked about. If you'd like me to share the analysis as well.
Representative Sylvester, you had your hand up. You're muted, sir.
I did, and then I realized that there might be questions, so I was waiting. And if there are no questions, I'd be ready to make a motion. But I see that Representative Bradstreet has his hand up.
Yes, Representative Bradstreet.
I can wait for a motion if you want to, or I can ask. I think at the public hearing, I asked if there was any studies or any data showing the comparing firefighters with certain types of cancer with the public at large. I'm not sure if that's been available or not.
Yes, Representative Bradstreet. Ms. Byers from the Forest Rangers did forward some information by email to Alyssa that I think was forwarded to you, which was really some studies related to focusing on the increased risks of wildland firefighters who are part of, serving in, protecting for wildfires and other things. So that was forwarded to you. I'm happy to forward that additionally as well. But there were a number of studies that they forwarded that focus particularly on those firefighters who work in wildland protection.
Okay, I recall getting something, but I can't just put my fingers on it.
Yeah, I'm happy to, I can pull it up and forward it again if that would help by
Okay,
email.
okay, yeah, thank you.
Sure.
If I also make a statement, I know they're probably not comparable, but we talked about doing taking a comprehensive look at the retirement system, and because it's so piecework, and it seems to me like even the workers' comp is a little bit the same modus as well. So just an observation on my part.
Thank you. Representative Drinkwater, followed by Representative Sylvester.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. once again, I concur with Representative Bradstreet in that when it came to retirement issues, it's so fragmented that we need to pull them all together and say what groups has a vested interest and then look at it as a holistic approach. Seems to me that with the presumptive idea, we're seeing more and more bills come in for fragmented presumptions. And now we see one coming in for hypertension and heart attacks. Maybe we need to take a holistic approach. It seems to me we heard that there was a study coming forward, I think it was due in February, about something to do with workman's comp. Maybe Representative Sylvester knows more about it than I do. But I just don't like the idea that we've opened Pandora's box and now everybody wants to jump through it. And I understand why. But also let's remember that when asked if they get a regular cancer screen, the answer was no. We did hear from Workman's Comp that as part of your employment, you need a cancer screen. And then after that, you're okay. Personally, if I thought I was in danger, I'd want one a year, but that's my personal opinion. Once again, it's going to continue to drive up the cost of Workman's Comp. I don't think that's something that we need, and they are covered under Workman's Comp. And presumptively, it's still going to be a long, drawn-out fight with medical records brought up, and it will go to a hearing officer, and then it may go to an administrative appeal, further than that to a judge, and they're going to have to fight for it one way or another. And I just can't support this. I'd like to see us do a holistic approach like we did with retirement. Thank you. That's my 2-minute speech, and I hope I was under 3 minutes.
Thank you. Representative Sylvester, followed by Representative Cuddy, please.
Well, I was going to be very quick, but now I've got to explain some things if based on our bills last year. So last year we had a comprehensive bill to look at all of workers' comp, and so we learned an enormous amount about the system. And one of the things we learned that's very different than, for example, retirement, where you have to pay for everything up front, is that the workers' comp system is actually so well run that the costs go down every year. And so even with us adding all of those things that we did to the bill last year to sort of bring fairness to different pieces that had been taken away over time, the costs went down over the year. And so, and even if we had passed the full bill with everything, we had figured that it would come out even. So retirement, our workers' comp is very different in that the system works very functionally, and it ends up every year you pay a certain amount, and most folks, if you don't use it a lot, get money back, right? So that's one of the differences here. And to me, this bill it's already settled law that firefighters have the presumption on this. And the question really are these group of people firefighters? I believe that they are firefighters. And so I will hold my motion for Representative Cuddy's question, and/or any other questions that come up.
Representative Cuddy.
Thank you very much, Senator. Yeah, no, I was going to say several of the things that Representative Sylvester just said, so I won't go back over those. It's just there is sort of a fundamental difference. Each group that comes before us to tell us why they think there should be a rebuttable presumption has to demonstrate, to me at least, that there is a likelihood, that their particular ailment, be it cancer or whatever else, is something they could have gotten on the job. Because although it's covered if you can prove it, it can be difficult to prove, just in the same way that it can be difficult to prove that you may have gotten it somewhere else, or that's unlikely that you got it on the job, or whatever the preponderance of evidence standard means. So I think it is fundamentally different. And as Representative Sylvester said, we just did a comprehensive look at the system. So I'm happy to move away and let Representative Sylvester make a motion. Although yeah, thank you.
Mr. Chair?
Anyone else? Representative Sylvester.
Seeing no other questions, and again, I will cede to that. I would make a motion amending it to include the pilots, Colleen, and I would move ought to pass as amended.
Second.
So we have a motion by Representative Sylvester, seconded by Senator Marmont. Any additional discussion? Representative Cuddy.
Thank you, Senator. I was going to ask Representative Sylvester, when you said including the pilots, did you mean the definition that Colleen gave, where it was described the work being done, or were you using the job title?
In the testimony, it was said that if we didn't specifically mention the fire pilots, that they might not be included in the definition of firefighter. And so Colleen, doing the job that she always does, will check that out for us. I'm sure if we make a mistake in language review to say, and make sure that we get the right language in there to include those folks. But my intention is to include those firefighter pilots so that they are part of the definition of firefighter, as I believe this entire group are firefighters.
Thank you.
So the motion by Representative Sylvester has been made, which the only amendment there is to include the word pilots, seconded by Senator Marmont. I'm gonna, no other discussion. Let's move the vote, please. Alyssa, if you would, by roll call vote. And again, a reminder, folks, that we must physically be present while voting. Just to clarify, a yay or a yes vote would move to pass the LD as written with the amendment, and anything that nay or no would be to not pass the LD. I'm good, Colleen. I'm sorry, Alyssa.
Okay. Senator Rafferty.
Yes.
Rafferty, yes. Senator Guerin.
No.
Guerin, no. Senator Miramont.
Yes.
Miramont, yes. Representative Sylvester.
Yes, to Senator Searway's fantastic bill.
Sylvester, yes. Bradstreet. Representative Bradstreet, sorry.
No.
Bradstreet, no. Representative Cuddy.
Yes.
Cuddy, yes. Representative Drinkwater.
Nay.
Drinkwater, nay. Representative Gear.
Yes.
Gear, yes. Representative Morris.
No.
Morris, no. Representative Pebworth.
Yes.
Pebworth, yes. Representative Prescott.
No.
Prescott, no. Representative Rader.
Yes.
Rader, yes. Representative Warren.
Yes.
Warren, yes. And the minority report is ought not to pass.
Correct.
So that is 5 ought not to pass and 8 ought to pass as amended.
Sorry, I'm just noting myself as well. Okay, so 8 pass as amended, 5 ought not to pass. Okay. Well, that said, I believe that was, also I'm missing something, forgetting something. I think that was it on our agenda in terms of our work session. Any folks have any questions or any comment before we part for the day? Well, thank you again very much, all of you, potentially for everyone involved, and also for those that were here to support our efforts in terms of seeking any information and clarification. We're happy to have your expertise. Thank you for being here and for your patience. I look forward to seeing our committee again on Wednesday. Have a good evening, folks.
Senator, we
we're
will
going to
not be
see
here
you.
on Wednesday.
Well,
We're
I'll
gonna
see
each
you
other.
in. Yeah, we may just have a committee meeting somewhere in the lobby of the Civic Center, or if you're joining us by Zoom, we'll try to find you. All right. Have a good day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.